The Walt Disney Company is desperate for a win with Agatha all along. Disney's doing a little bit of headline chasing as they say that the previous episode had 4.2 million viewers, which is up from the first episode's 9.3 million views in 7 days. If all of that's a bit confusing, let's point out why Disney had to walk back a deceptive statement in order to show that they're bragging about a rise in viewership that's less than the number they reported before. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place. It's just me on my onesies today here, bringing this ship into port, if I can quote that Mr. Jack Sparrow there. I wanted to talk about this. This is Agatha All Along, Episode 7, Bewitching, with 4.2 million views after just a day of streaming. So they're saying 24 hours here. I'm assuming this is 24 hours. Deadline is reporting this by Kate Campbell here. Agatha All Along is still bewitching audiences ahead of the finale week. Disney says that episode 7, which was directed by showrunner Jack Schaefer, drove 4.2 million views globally after just 1 day of streaming, up 35% from the premiere episode's performance. Disney, like Netflix, defines views as total stream time divided by runtime. I'm going to point out it was a shorter episode. Now, you can see a little bit of what they're talking about here, but I want to go to the previous statement that was made by the Disney company here. This another article by Kate Campion, and I want to point out that these are based off of Disney's direct reporting on figures, unverifiable, essentially. I mean, they have no reason to lie, but they may have a reason to obfuscate. Agatha All Along brews up solid premiere audience as first episode nets 9.3 million views in 7 days, Disney says. So obviously there's a little bit of fudgery going on here as they're trying to fudge the numbers to say that 9.3 million views in 7 days, that sounds like a lot. At the time that we were reporting on this, we couldn't help but notice that that's 1.33 million views a day for Agatha All Along. Not really an impressive figure. We were wondering why it took so long for them to do that. But now we have clarity here because Disney is the one that has provided this one, going back to the more recent article here. They're saying that 4.2 million views that this episode 7 got. First of all, I need to praise Disney on this. It sounds like there's a rise in viewership for Agatha All Along, which is commendable. That does not often happen with their streaming series. Usually they taper off. But they're also saying that 4.2 million views is up 35% from the premiere episode's performance. So that first episode, if we're backing out the math here on that one, it means that Agatha All Along, if we divide out 1.35, which would be where if we're reversing out that 35%, it means that that first episode got 3.1 million views in its first day, which is probably not. We don't know what the budget is on this, but that's not great for Marvel, and kind of speaks to the diminishing returns on Marvel series, which means that after day 1 of Agatha, they averaged about 1 million views per day for the next 6 days. Now, I'm just going to point out the only comparable figures that we really have for Agatha All Along. They did release a 6-day figure for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And with that one, going over to this one, Nelly Andriva, also from Deadline, Percy Jackson and the Olympians premiere episode draws 13.3 million views in 6 days, Disney says on that. So if I were to put the same kind of curve on Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the idea that a large percentage of those views, a similar percentage of those views occurred in the first day, the first 24 hours, and then tapered off. We know that Percy Jackson actually ended up being a pretty strong viewership for Disney Plus on the whole. Of course, it would never beat Bluey, which represents 30% of all streaming on Disney Plus right now. But my guess, and this is a ballpark figure, is that there was about 4.4 million views in that first day on Percy Jackson and the Olympians, leaving about 8.9 to be divvied up between the remaining 5 days. So 1.78, so 1.8 million views per day in those remaining 5 days of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, if it followed a similar curve. And I'm saying that averaging out, it was probably going to be a little bit higher in that first and then tapering off at the end, assuming that interest wasn't gearing up because people found out that there's a Percy Jackson and the Olympians series premiering on Disney Plus. Now, I want to say that this was, I can't remember the specific figure. I think that Variety's intelligence platform, or Illuminate, is theirs. That one put them at around 23 to 25% of all viewing of Disney Plus original content. And of course, Percy Jackson got greenlit for a season 2. I'm going to imagine that Percy Jackson was also less expensive to shoot. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to take that one to the bank, but James Bobin is a consistent director for Disney, and he also didn't have any humongous, well, he had some stars. He didn't have huge stars or the giant production budgets that are expected for like the MCU and for the ever ballooning costs of Lucasfilm Productions. So I think that Percy Jackson and the Olympians is probably the sleeper hit as far as Disney Plus original content goes. But if we want to go back here to Agatha, there's two things I want everyone to take away here. First of all, rising audience. I also heard this described as the greatest episode of MCU television ever. Having watched it myself, I don't know what those people, I don't know what the circumstances were when people were watching this episode. I don't know if they were in a massage chair surrounded by beautiful people of the opposite sex who were telling them that they loved the show and they wanted to have some kind of a great conversation about it. I don't see that in this show. To me, it was, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it or is not interested in having it spoiled, but there was a twist that you could see coming from, I want to say, episode 1 or 2. But with that being said, I do want to throw this to our commenters. Have you been watching Agatha all along? Do you appreciate our little takes on media literacy here and how to read where the lies can be found when something like this happens? It's not a direct lie. It's the best kind of lie in which you completely tell the truth, but instead you manipulate how the data is presented, which Disney specializes in those kind of lies. They go more towards the lie area than the deception area, especially when they're dealing with someone like, I don't know, a Nelson Peltz. Well, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, if you could hit that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. Remember, tomorrow we've got a new live show starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time called Morning Magic with That Park Place, or maybe That Park Place Morning Magic if we want to reverse the numbers. Those are words, actually. With that being said, until then, please consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.